Hello YouTube, Chris the Frugal Audiophile with you again for another video. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the SofaBaton U2, not the band. And today's video is really going to be more of a discussion of my experience with this remote and also a mini review. So to begin here, I want to talk about the design of this remote. Now this is largely a plastic device with some rubber buttons, and then you see up there it does have an LCD screen that shows you the device that you are controlling. More about that as we go on. It does have nice tactile clicky buttons though, as you can hear there, and the scroll wheel is not anything fancy, it just selects your device there. You see the back here has some nice grips for your fingers. It does fit nicely in my hand and feel good. It has some decent weight to it. It doesn't feel like a super cheap device. The U2, it uses two AA batteries. These are the ones that came with it. You can use rechargeable in here, but these are not rechargeable batteries, and there's no way to charge them in the remote. You have to take them out and charge them in a separate device. This remote is set up with an app. It's really quite straightforward. Once you get it paired with the app, it will walk you through the setup process, and you can go through and input your devices, and then you can change IR commands, you can add and remove devices, anything like that is able to be done in this app. And so it is a fairly easy way to set up the remote. Right, next let's talk about some specs. This remote has both IR and Bluetooth, so you can use it with devices that use those signals for command. And the U2 allows you to control up to 15 devices. That means you can add 15 devices in the app, and you can control them by using the scroll wheel on the front here like this. And not unlike the Harmony, this can work with over 500,000 devices from 6,000 different brands. So that sounds very similar to the specs that Harmony would give us back in the day. So when I purchased this remote, I was looking for an affordable alternative to the Harmony remotes that Logitech is no longer making. So to begin with, some things I like about it. First of all, I really do like the design. It feels nice in my hand, have nice tactile clicky buttons. It looks like a fairly modern remote, so I do like that about this remote. I have no complaints as far as design is concerned. Next, this remote is fairly easy to set up. As I'm showing you here on the screen, open the app. Basically, it'll ask which remote you have, and then you hold down these two buttons. The serial number of this device will show up on your screen. You just click OK, and then it'll walk you through the rest of the setup process. So it's really easy to do. And then you can go and you can pick your devices. You can add them to this remote, and it will sync it. I believe it's via Bluetooth to this remote, and you can set it up that way. You can also go in and you can change any buttons command that you want to. You can either swap it out, like say example you wanted to use the one button here for a missing command on say your receiver's remote. You could go into the app, you could reprogram it, and you could make it a different functionality, or you can have it learn a functionality too by using the original remote for that particular product. And it's pretty easy to do. You can also set up macros. So what I did was I set up this one button to power on the device I want to use. In this instance, it would be my Apple TV and my Denon X1300, as well as my LG OLED TV. And so I press this button and it does all those things and puts the Denon and the TV in the right input. And then I use the number 2 here to switch to my Blu-ray player in my bedroom. And that was pretty easy to do. The app walks you through the steps of doing all of that. So I do like that about the remote. So as far as what I don't like about this remote, the first thing is, unlike a Harmony, it does not have activity functionality. This is solely a device-based universal remote. So you have to use the scroll button here to pick the device you wish to control. And then it shows you up there on the OLED screen up here what you are controlling, and that's what you are controlling at that time. You can change the functionality of a button in a given device. So for example, I changed the volume to be for my AV receiver on all of my devices. And so you cannot program in an activity and say, okay, when I press this particular activity, see there are no activity buttons on this, it'll turn on all your devices and get them to the right place. You can do that with a macro, but it's just not nearly as intuitive as a Harmony remote is. And I am just not a big fan of that. Also, there is really no way to tell the remote that you want to use volume solely for your AV receiver on all activities. When you create an activity in Harmony, it lets you pick your audio device, and then it automatically sets the IR commands to be for that device in that activity for volume. You can do this by reprogramming these buttons, as I was talking about before, but you have to do it for every device. So I went in and I did it for my Blu-ray player along with my Apple TV and changed this to be volume control. Now the problem is I'm having another issue, and that is the volume buttons will not repeat when I hold them down. When I go like that, it only does it once. You see I'm still holding it there. So I have to go like this to turn up and down the volume. And that is very annoying because it takes forever on my Denon receiver to go from a louder volume for normal viewing to a soft volume while I'm trying to fall asleep, because I use this in my bedroom and I want it to be very quiet. So it takes forever to get down to that soft volume and then turn it back up the next day when I want to use it to watch in a normal listening situation. So that is super frustrating to me and a huge knock on this remote in my opinion. Now, I did contact customer service about that, and I have not heard back from them in 2 days. And it went to, I think, some address in Asia, whether it was Japan or China, I'm not sure, but it was kind of a funky way of doing it. They used to have a chat functionality in the app, but I cannot get on that. Every time I go on, it says that there's no one available and to send them a message. So customer service has just been a nightmare with this remote. So they have not helped me to fix that solution at all. If they do, I will either update this video or post another video update. Finally, the scroll wheel is really easy to bump. It just takes a light touch to switch devices. And when I'm using this in my bedroom and at night, and I'm throwing the remote around somewhat, it does get changed quite a bit. And then I go to press play pause, and it doesn't work because I've switched to a different device. So I don't really like this scroll wheel system. I wish there was a better way of doing that. So in conclusion, I will not be keeping this remote. Now, it is a decent remote at a good price. You can currently pick this up for, I think, $55. There's a coupon available on Amazon right now, and I got it for 50 bucks about a month ago. But yeah, I'm not planning to keep it for all the functionality reasons that I mentioned earlier on in this video. Now, I think that with just a couple of tweaks to the app, SofaBaton could fix these issues. For example, allowing you to set volume to always control an audio product rather than have to do it for each device would be a nice touch. And I think that's easy enough. Even though this is not an activity-based remote, I actually had that functionality on an old RCA universal remote that would allow you to set advanced volume punch through, and then volume would only control your AV receiver or your audio device on all of your devices. And that was really handy. And that remote was like 20 bucks. So I think that's something simple that they could do with the U2 here, not the band. So this is not a cheap Harmony replacement. It just lacks too many of the features of those old Harmony remotes that you could get for around $50. And it had the activity functionality plus anything else you could ever want in a remote. Now they do have one that is closer to a Harmony. It's more like the Harmony Elite because it includes a hub, and that is their X1 remote. But it cost $190, and I think that is a little bit ridiculous for a universal remote, considering you used to be able to purchase one from Harmony for like 50 bucks. That remote does have more advanced features than the old Harmony 650 or 750s that I used, but I still think 190 is a lot to ask. If that's something you need, what you're looking for, then you're going to have to get the X1 remote. So there you have just a few of my thoughts and experiences with this SofaBaton U2 remote, not the band, and a mini review of the product. There's a lot of potential here and a lot of good things, but there are too many issues that affect my usage, preventing me from keeping it or really recommending it. Unless you are not concerned about the issues that I mentioned before, then go ahead and purchase it. So have you used the SofaBaton X2? What do you think of it? How does it work for you? Were you having the same issues that I was having? So I thank you so much for watching my channel. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please be sure to check out Patreon and buy me a cup of coffee. I thank you so much for your ongoing support. And remember, frugal doesn't necessarily mean cheap.